The morning fog rolled in thick off San Francisco Bay, wrapping San Quentin State Prison in a gray shroud that seemed to muffle even the cries of the gulls circling overhead. Inside the East Block maximum security wing, the air was different, dense with sweat, disinfectant, and the metallic tang of fear that never quite left these walls. Officer Marcus Chen stood at his new post outside Cell Block D, clipboard in hand, trying to look like he belonged. 28 years old, lean build, maybe 5'10" on a good day. The Navy correctional officer uniform still had crisp creases from the package. His name tag gleamed too brightly under the harsh fluorescent lights. Everything about him screamed fresh meat. "First day, pretty boy?" The voice came from Officer Dennison, a barrel-chested veteran with 23 years on the job and a face like worn leather. "Let me give you the only advice you need. Stay alert, stay quiet, and when the real shit goes down, you call for backup and get the hell out of the way." Marcus nodded politely. "Understood, sir." Through the reinforced glass window, Marcus could see into the day room, where 63 of California's most dangerous men moved through their morning routine. And towering above them all, impossible to miss, was the man everyone called Goliath. Tyrell Goliath Jackson, 7 feet, 1 inch, 310 pounds of solid muscle wrapped in rage and conviction. Aggravated assault, attempted murder of a police officer, resisting arrest with violence, 25 years into a life sentence with no possibility of parole. "That's the one you don't turn your back on," Dennison muttered. 3 guards in the infirmary last year because they thought restraints and protocol would hold him. Took 8 men to bring him down. The morning dragged on without incident. Marcus watched. Listened, learned the rhythms of the block, the shuffle of feet on concrete, the echo of voices against cement walls, the electric hum of surveillance cameras. "Chow time," Dennison announced, pressing the button to unlock the day-room entrance. "Formation, gentlemen." The inmates lined up with practiced efficiency, all except Goliath, who took his time standing, stretching to his full imposing height, and sauntering to the back of the line with casual confidence. The line moved through the corridor toward the cafeteria, 2 guards in front, 2 behind. Marcus walked alongside Dennison, hyper-aware of every sound, every movement. That's when he heard it, a sound like a guitar string snapping, then another, Goliath's restraints. The massive inmate stood in the middle of the corridor, broken zip ties dangling from his wrists. His face was calm, almost serene, but his eyes blazed with something primal and unstoppable. "Lockdown!" Dennison's voice cracked with panic as he reached for his radio. "East Block, we have a code red! Goliath is—" The rest of the sentence died in a grunt as Goliath moved with shocking speed, his enormous fist connecting with Dennison's chest and sending the veteran guard crashing into the wall. Alarms erupted throughout the facility, a deafening wail that turned the corridor into a nightmare of sound and chaos. Red emergency lights began strobing. Steel doors slammed shut with hydraulic force. Officer Morrison, a former college football player, stepped into Goliath's path with a baton raised. "Stand down, Jackson!" Goliath didn't break stride. His hand shot out, caught the baton mid-swing, and wrenched it from Morrison's grip. Then, with almost casual violence, he backhanded the guard across the face. Morrison hit the floor and didn't get up. "Chen, get back!" Another guard was shouting, already retreating. "Tactical team is 3 minutes out." But Marcus didn't move. He stood perfectly still in the center of the corridor, directly in Goliath's path, his hands loose at his sides. Goliath slowed, studying this new obstacle. Then he smiled, a cold, hungry expression that promised pain. "You're new." Goliath's voice was a deep rumble. "You got about 3 seconds to move before I go through you like wet paper." Marcus's voice was quiet, almost conversational. "I can't let you pass, Jackson." "I can't?" Goliath laughed. "Boy, there ain't no can't when I'm moving." The distance between them was maybe 15 feet. "Last chance, rookie." Goliath took a step forward. Marcus's breathing stayed even. His heart rate was slow, controlled. "I'm going to give you a choice, Jackson. You can turn around, put your hands on the wall, and wait. Or Or what? You gonna stop me? You? Yes. The word hung in the air between them, simple and absolute. You know what? Goliath said slowly. I think I'm gonna enjoy this. Then he charged. 310 pounds of muscle and rage came at Marcus like a freight train. Goliath's first punch was a haymaker that could have shattered concrete, thrown with the full force of his massive body. It hit nothing but air. Marcus had shifted, not backward in retreat, but forward and to the side, his body moving with fluid precision. As Goliath's fist whistled past his ear, Marcus's hand shot out, palm-heel strike to the massive man's elbow joint. Goliath grunted, more surprised than hurt, and immediately followed with his other fist. Again, Marcus wasn't there. He flowed around the attack like water, his movements economical and controlled. Stand still, Goliath roared, frustrated now, throwing a combination that should have cornered the smaller man. But Marcus maintained perfect distance. His face showed no emotion, no fear, no anger, just focused calm. The other inmates were shouting now, stunned by what they were witnessing. The new guard was making California's most dangerous prisoner look slow and clumsy. Goliath changed tactics, rushing forward with his arms spread wide, trying to overwhelm Marcus with sheer size. Marcus dropped low, his center of gravity beneath Goliath's grasping hands, and drove his shoulder into the bigger man's thigh. At the same time, his leg swept behind Goliath's knee. The giant went down hard, 300 pounds hitting concrete with a crash that echoed through the corridor. Before Goliath could process what had happened, Marcus was on him, one knee pressed into the massive man's back, controlling the wrist, manipulating the elbow. Don't move, Marcus said quietly. You move. This elbow breaks. You know I can do it, so don't move. Goliath thrashed, trying to use his superior size to buck the smaller man off. But Marcus had the position, the leverage, the training. I said don't move. There was steel in Marcus's voice now. The tactical team burst into the corridor, 6 guards in riot gear ready for a war. They stopped short, stunned. Goliath, the man who'd hospitalized 8 officers the previous year, was face down on the floor, completely controlled by the new guy. Holy shit, one of the tactical officers breathed. Chen, Lieutenant Rodriguez, the tactical team leader, approached cautiously. You got him? Yes, sir. Recommend medical check, then full restraint protocol for isolation. As the tactical team moved in with restraints, Goliath spoke, his voice muffled against the floor. Who the hell are you, rookie? Marcus didn't answer until the heavy-duty restraints were in place. Then he released Goliath and stepped back smoothly. Chen, Rodriguez's voice carried new respect. My office. After we get this situation stabilized, they hauled Goliath to his feet, 6 guards surrounding the restrained giant. As he passed Marcus, Goliath stopped. I asked you a question, Goliath said, his eyes locked on Marcus's face. Who are you? For the first time, Marcus met his gaze directly. Just a corrections officer, Jackson. Doing my job. Bullshit. Goliath's voice was quiet now, thoughtful. I've fought martial artists before. Army, Marines. You move different. Like you've done this for real. Not in a gym. For real. Marcus said nothing. Marcus sat in Lieutenant Rodriguez's office, still calm, answering questions with precise responses. Where'd you train? Rodriguez asked. And don't give me that academy training bullshit. I've had some martial arts training, sir. Krav Maga, mostly. Some judo. Krav Maga. Israeli self-defense. Military system. You serve? Yes, sir. Marines. 6 years. Rank? Sergeant, sir. Rodriguez nodded slowly. Combat experience? Marcus hesitated. Some, sir. Some. Right. Rodriguez opened Marcus's personnel file. Says here you did 2 tours. Iraq and Afghanistan. Navy Commendation Medal. I did my job, sir. Your job. Rodriguez closed the folder. You know what your job is now. Survive your shift and go home safe. That's it. Goliath could have killed you today. With respect, sir, no, he couldn't. The confidence in that statement made Rodriguez pause. Why'd you leave the Marines? Rodriguez asked. Personal reasons, sir. And you chose corrections? Why here? Why San Quentin? Marcus met Rodriguez's gaze steadily. "Because this is where I'm needed." The intercom crackled. "Lieutenant, we have inmates requesting to speak with you. They're asking about Chen." Rodriguez sighed. "You just became famous, Chen. In a place like this, that's not always good. Goliath has friends, allies." "I understand, sir. You're off rotation for the rest of today. Go home. Rest. Tomorrow we'll reassess." "Yes, sir." "Chen," Rodriguez stopped him. "Good work today, but watch your back. This isn't over." Marcus drove home through thickening fog to his modest Richmond apartment. Sparse furnishings, a futon, a desk, weight equipment, no photos, no personal items, just essentials for a man who'd learned to travel light. He showered and stood in front of the bathroom mirror, studying his reflection. Scars on his ribs from shrapnel, a puckered mark on his shoulder from a bullet, and on his left forearm a small tattoo, a wolf's head, symbol of the Marine Corps' 3rd Battalion, 4th Marines. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Impressive work today, but you showed your hand. They'll be watching now. Stay sharp. M." Marcus deleted the message. His handler was right. He'd planned to stay invisible, gathering intelligence slowly. But Goliath had forced his hand. His real assignment was classified. For 8 months, inmates at San Quentin had been receiving contraband at unprecedented levels. The operation was sophisticated, and someone inside was orchestrating it. Marcus had been recruited for deep cover, young enough to be believable, experienced enough to survive. Today's incident had just blown that plan apart. Another text arrived. "Heard about what you did. Let's talk. Tomorrow. Yard, North Corner. Come alone. A friend." Marcus deleted this message too and lay down, staring at the ceiling as rain began to fall. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. But for tonight, he was just another guard trying to survive. Somewhere across the bay, in San Quentin's isolation unit, Tyrell Goliath Jackson replayed the fight in his mind. Every movement, every technique. The new guard wasn't just trained, he was lethal. And Goliath, for the first time in 25 years, felt something he'd almost forgotten: respect for an opponent. This wasn't over. The morning sun burned through the fog by 9 a.m., turning San Quentin's main yard into a patchwork of light and shadow. Marcus stood near the north corner as instructed, watching the population move through their outdoor time. The yard was its own ecosystem. Hispanic gangs near the weight benches, Aryan Brotherhood controlling the basketball courts, black inmates dominating the area near the chow hall, then the independents, those who didn't fit anywhere, huddling together for survival. "Officer Chen," the voice came from behind him, smooth and educated. Marcus turned to find a man in his mid-50s, African-American, with grey in his close-cropped hair and the posture of someone who'd once held authority. His eyes were sharp, intelligent. "I'm Anthony," the man said. "Anthony Wright, though most people call me the Professor." Marcus recognized the name. Anthony Wright, former federal prosecutor, convicted 8 years ago on corruption charges that had always seemed suspiciously convenient. Marcus didn't shake the offered hand. "I don't fraternize with inmates." "Of course, professional boundaries. I respect that." Wright lowered his hand. "I just wanted to thank you for yesterday. You prevented a bloodbath. When Goliath gets going, other inmates see opportunity. You ended it fast. That matters." Marcus studied the man carefully. "You're the one who texted me." Wright smiled slightly. "I have friends with access to certain technologies, yes, because I think we can help each other. I'm not interested in contraband deals, information trading." Wright shook his head. "I was a federal prosecutor for 16 years. I know corruption, and I see it every day here. That's not what I'm offering." "Then what?" Wright leaned closer. "The truth about what's really happening at San Quentin. About the operation you're here to investigate." Marcus kept his expression neutral. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Marcus Chen, age 28. Supposedly joined corrections 3 months ago. But your file is too clean. And the way you handled Goliath, that wasn't Corrections Academy training. That was Inmate, combined with something refined, professional. Marcus said nothing. "You're not here to be a guard," Wright continued. "You're here to investigate the contraband pipeline. And I can help you, because I've been tracking it myself for 2 years. Why should I trust you? Because I'm the only person in this facility who's told you the truth in the last 5 minutes." Wright straightened. "Think about it. I'll be in the library every afternoon from 2 to 4. We can talk freely there. The cameras have bad angles. You've thought this through. I was a prosecutor. Thinking things through was my job." Wright turned to leave, then paused. "One more thing. Watch yourself around Officer Dennison. He's not grateful you saved him. He's threatened, and threatened people do dangerous things." At lunch, Marcus sat alone in the guard's break room. Dennison entered, his movements stiff from the cracked rib. He sat down across from Marcus without asking. "We need to talk," Dennison said. About you showing me up yesterday, making me look like a fool." Marcus set down his sandwich. "I didn't show you up. I stopped a dangerous situation. By getting lucky. That's all it was, Chen. Don't let it go to your head. I'm not good, because heroes don't last long in here." Dennison leaned forward. "You know what happens to guards who think they're special? They end up isolated. No backup when they need it. Accidents happen, Chen. All the time." Marcus met Dennison's gaze steadily. "Is that a threat?" "It's friendly advice." Dennison stood up, wincing. "Stay in your lane. That's how you survive." He walked away, leaving his coffee untouched. At 2:15 p.m., Marcus found himself walking toward the prison library. Wright sat at a corner table with a legal tome open, making notes. He looked up when Marcus approached. "Officer Chen, routine security check?" "Something like that. Have a seat. We have about 20 minutes before someone notices you've been in one place too long." Marcus sat down. "You said you've been tracking the contraband operation. Talk." Wright closed his book. 6 organizations operate within San Quentin. 3 months ago, something changed. They started cooperating. Violence decreased. Contraband flow increased by 300%. Someone organized them, Chen. Someone with power to make traditional enemies work together. Who? That's the question. I've eliminated most suspects. Whoever's running this is smart, compartmentalized. Money flows through prison accounts, commissary purchases, legal defense funds. Professional. You were a prosecutor. You must have some idea. Wright hesitated. 3 suspects. First, Lieutenant Rodriguez. He has access, authority, knowledge, but 27 years of clean service. Second, Officer Dennison. He's been here forever, knows every system, and he's bitter about being passed over for promotion. And third, me. Wright smiled without humor. I'm a convicted, corrupt official with prosecutorial knowledge and intelligence to run this from inside. For all you know, I'm recruiting you. Marcus studied him. But you're not. No, I was framed, Chen. The evidence against me was manufactured by the syndicate I was investigating. I've spent 8 years proving it. But I need one more piece. Proof of who's running the current operation. Because I believe it's connected to the people who put me here. What do you want from me? Access to areas I can't reach. Security footage I can't see. Observation of guard activities. And protection. I become a target instead. Yes, I won't lie. This is dangerous for both of us. Marcus stood. I'll think about it. Don't think too long. Something big is coming. Security protocols are being modified. Someone's preparing for a major move. And when it happens, people will die. Marcus headed for the door, then paused. How did you know I'm not just a regular guard? Wright smiled. Because regular guards don't move like you do. You've been trained beyond law enforcement. Military, probably special operations. And men with that training don't end up as entry-level corrections officers unless they have a damn good reason. Maybe I just needed a job. Maybe. Or maybe you're exactly what this place needs. Wright opened his book again. Library every afternoon when you're ready. As Marcus's shift ended, his phone buzzed. His handler. Report. What happened with Goliath? Marcus typed, Situation neutralized, cover possibly compromised. Approached by inmate Wright with intelligence offer, evaluating credibility. The response came immediately. Wright is legitimate. Use him, but carefully. Major shipment expected within 72 hours. Find the source. Marcus deleted the messages and drove home. 72 hours, 3 days, to identify and stop a major contraband operation where everyone was watching him. Behind him, unnoticed, a black sedan pulled out and followed at a careful distance. The next morning started with an emergency meeting. Marcus arrived at 6 a.m. to find Lieutenant Rodriguez, 3 captains, and the warden assembled. Warden Margaret Chen, no relation, a severe woman in her 60s with steel-grey hair, gestured for Marcus to sit. Officer Chen, tell us exactly what happened during the Goliath incident. For 20 minutes, Marcus walked them through it, emphasizing technique and downplaying anything superhuman. When he finished, the warden exchanged glances with the captains. We're transferring Goliath to Pelican Bay this afternoon. Maximum security, complete isolation. However, intelligence suggests his allies are planning retaliation, possibly against you. I can handle myself, Ma'am. I'm sure, but we need to consider broader security implications. I'm offering you 2 options: transfer to a different facility or accept temporary assignment to Goliath's escort detail. You'd accompany him to Pelican Bay, return tomorrow. Marcus understood. This was a test, a way to get him out while they investigated his background, or possibly a setup. I'll take the escort detail, Ma'am. Rodriguez looked surprised. Chen, you don't have to. When do we leave? The warden smiled coldly. 1400 hours. You'll travel with officers Morrison and Castillo. 4 hours to Pelican Bay, overnight at a hotel, return tomorrow. Marcus spent the morning on routine duties, making careful observations. Dennison was on edge. Gang activity was increasing. At noon, another text. Don't go. Transport is a setup. You won't make it to Pelican Bay. Right. Marcus deleted it. If it was a setup, he'd deal with it. At 1:45 p.m., Marcus met the transport team. Morrison, the guard Goliath had knocked unconscious, nodded stiffly. Castillo, a young Latina officer, seemed nervous. Standard protocol, Rodriguez addressed them. Goliath stays restrained. No stops except fuel. No conversation with the prisoner. Clear? They brought Goliath out in full restraints. The massive man's eyes found Marcus immediately. Well, well, the rookie and I are taking a road trip. They loaded him into the cage section, securing his restraints to anchor points. Marcus took the seat behind the cage, Morrison up front, Castillo near the rear doors. The van pulled out at exactly 1400 hours. For the first hour, nobody spoke. Then Morrison's phone buzzed. He read the text, whispered to the driver. The driver took the next exit, a rural road that wasn't on the route to Pelican Bay. Morrison. Marcus's voice cut through the silence. This isn't the right road. Shortcut. Road construction ahead. There's no construction scheduled. I checked. Morrison turned around. You questioning my navigation, rookie? I'm questioning this detour. Well, don't. Morrison's hand moved to his sidearm. Just sit back and enjoy the ride. The van turned onto gravel deep in the mountains, isolated. Well, well, Goliath said softly. Looks like somebody's got plans. Shut up, Jackson. Morrison turned fully, weapon drawn, and pointed at Marcus. Chen, I need you to take off your utility belt, slowly. Marcus didn't move. What's this about? It's about you being a problem. Coming in here, showing off. We don't need heroes at San Quentin. We need team players. And when I don't comply? Morrison smiled. Then we report you were injured during a prisoner escape attempt. Tragic accident. Castillo's voice was shaky. Morrison, this isn't what we agreed to. You said we were just going to scare him. Plans change. Chen's too smart to be scared. Morrison cocked his weapon. Last chance. Belt. Now. The driver had stopped the van, pulling into a clearing. Isolated. Perfect. Marcus assessed. Morrison had a weapon but was twisted awkwardly. Castillo uncertain, driver waiting for orders, Goliath watching intently. "You're making a mistake," Marcus said quietly. "No, Chen. You made the mistake." Morrison stood. "San Quentin's been running just fine. We don't need some hotshot Marine." Marcus moved. His hand struck Morrison's wrist with a precise nerve strike. The weapon clattered to the floor. Before Morrison could react, Marcus had him in a headlock. "Nobody else move!" But the driver was pulling his weapon, bringing it around. Time slowed. Marcus calculated angles. Then Goliath acted. The big man had been working on his restraints, using a technique that required dislocating his own thumbs. Now, with a roar, he wrenched one hand free, reached through the mesh, and grabbed the driver's weapon arm. The gun discharged, deafening, the bullet punching through the roof. The driver screamed as Goliath's massive hand crushed his wrist. "Got your back, rookie!" Goliath shouted, grinning despite the pain. Marcus released Morrison and secured both weapons. "Castillo, secure Morrison and the driver with zip ties, now." Within 2 minutes, both men were restrained. Marcus turned to Goliath, who was working on his other restraints. "Stop. Now." Goliath paused. "Come on, man. This is my chance. I know you're going to stay exactly where you are, because if you don't, I'll put you down again. This time, I won't be gentle." They stared at each other. Then Goliath slowly put his hands back. "All right, rookie, your call, but you know this ain't over, right?" "I know." Marcus called Rodriguez. The conversation was brief. Rodriguez promised backup immediately. "Now what?" Castillo asked. "Now we wait. Then we figure out who gave Morrison his orders." 3 hours later, Marcus stood in the warden's office, uniform still dusty. "Officer Morrison has confessed," the warden said. "He claims it was his idea alone, but we both know that's bullshit." "Yes, ma'am. Now the question is, who's protecting him?" The warden leaned back. "I've authorized a full investigation, but that's slow, Chen, and you don't have time for slow." Marcus understood. "You know what I really am. I've suspected since your application. Your credentials were too perfect, so I made some calls, very interesting conversations with federal law enforcement." The warden smiled slightly. "You're undercover, investigating the contraband operation." "Yes, ma'am." "Good. Then let's stop playing games." She pulled out a thick file. "Everything we've compiled on internal corruption, it's all here. The major shipment you're looking for, it's coming tomorrow night. 2,200 hours. Fake medical supplies. Inside will be enough fentanyl to kill half of California. Who's receiving it? That's what you need to find out." The warden stood. "You have 24 hours, Chen. After that, this becomes public and whoever's running this disappears. Move fast." Marcus spent the evening in the library with Wright, combining files with Wright's research. Patterns emerged, financial transfers, security camera outages, and one name appearing again and again. "It can't be," Wright whispered. "Everyone trusts him." "That's exactly why it works," Marcus said. "Who'd suspect the one person who represents integrity and experience?" "Dennison." "Yes." Wright sat back. "He has everything. Access, knowledge, connections, the bitterness from being passed over. Tomorrow night he'll be at the loading dock," Marcus said, "and we'll be waiting." The next day crawled by. At 2,000 hours, Marcus met with Rodriguez, the warden, and a tactical team. The plan: let the delivery proceed, identify everyone involved, then lock it down. "We need evidence that will stand up in court," the warden emphasized. "This has to be airtight." Marcus was wearing a wire. Cameras were positioned around the loading dock. At 2145 hours, Marcus took position in a maintenance corridor with a clear view. Rodriguez was on the other side with half the tactical team. At 2157 hours, a commercial delivery truck pulled up. At 2200 hours exactly, the loading dock door opened, and Officer Dennison walked out, alone. Marcus watched as Dennison greeted the driver, a heavily tattooed man clearly not legitimate. They exchanged words, then the driver opened the truck's rear doors. Boxes labeled medical supplies, sterile equipment were unloaded. Dennison signed without looking. The transaction took less than 3 minutes. "All teams, stand by." Rodriguez's voice came through Marcus's earpiece. "Let him move the product inside." Dennison wheeled the dolly through the loading dock, down a corridor, into a supply room. The cameras were conveniently offline. Through a window, Marcus saw Dennison opening boxes, inspecting packages of pharmaceutical-grade fentanyl. "Now," Rodriguez commanded. They hit the door with a battering ram. Armed officers flooded in. Dennison tried to run, but it was over. Within seconds, he was on the floor, in restraints. "Officer James Dennison," the warden's voice came through a speaker, cold and absolute. "You are under arrest for trafficking narcotics, corruption of public office, and conspiracy." The aftermath took weeks. Dennison's operation had involved 12 guards, 3 administrators, and contacts with every major gang in California. The evidence resulted in 43 federal indictments. Anthony Wright's case was reopened. Within 3 months, he'd be released and back to practicing law. Marcus Chen's undercover assignment was officially over, but the warden offered him something unexpected, a permanent position as head of the new Internal Security Division. He accepted. On his last day as the new guard, Marcus walked through the main yard one final time. Inmates watched him pass, some with respect, some with fear, all with recognition. Goliath, now at Pelican Bay, had sent a message through the system. Just 3 words. "Respect, rookie. Respect." Marcus stood at the fence line, looking out over the bay as the sun set. Tomorrow, he'd start the real work of rebuilding trust and integrity. But tonight, he could just be Marcus Chen, former Marine, undercover operative, and now the guard who proved that one person with courage and skill could change everything, even in a place as dark as San Quentin State Prison.